And we'll officially start our session. Thank you, everyone, for attending. My name is Cindy McKinney. I'm from Region 8 Education Service Center. I'm the program director. We're up here in the Fort Wayne, Northeastern Indiana region. And welcome to How Family Engagement Drives Student Success with Ashley. Ashley, how do you say your last name?
Knott, K-N-O-T.
Perfect. So Ashley is the coordinator of family and community engagement for Westfield Washington Schools. She is invested in family and sees how the benefit of engagement within our schools and our community support the well-being of our youth, adults, and seniors. Ashley studied corporate and organizational communication, allowing her to understand the connections others play in our success and work at home. As a mother of four, she brings a hands-on understanding of parenting and working full-time with children. She will assure you that together we can do more for our community and our families. So I'm going to turn it over to Ashley. It looks like everyone was able to download the slides, and if you weren't, just put a note in the chat and we'll send me your email and I could email them to you. And take it away, Ashley.
All right. Thank you, Cindy. I'm sorry for the technology challenges we're having, but that's just kind of goes with this year, right?
Yep.
As we try to figure out, this is kind of what our students have had to work through and our staff. So this is part of family engagement and part of what we've been doing as a team going forward. So my name is Ashley Knott, and I am the family engagement coordinator for Westfield Washington Schools. I do have four children. So I have an intermediate kiddo in 6th grade. I have one 8th grader in middle school. And this year I have 2 high schoolers. So it does give me quite a perspective. And I'm excited to be here and thankful that Indiana Online Learning asked me to present today through this virtually different conference. And it is definitely different. So the first thing we were going to do was we were going to do a poll, and we were asking folks to share what has brought you success with family engagement, just to kind of start having that conversation, to feel what we're comfortable with. Because as we're looking at family and community engagement, and as we're looking at it as a district and in planning, we always want to make sure that we're doing things that everybody wants to do, not what you think that you want to do. So I was just kind of warming up that opportunity for people to share what are those things that you as a family like to do, and how do you incorporate that back in? And because of my wide age ranges and my different ages of kids and interest in kids, I do get to experience some different levels of that. And so I was just interested, if you guys want to throw that in the chat. I am not going to try to go out and see the chat. Cindy, you can kind of throw some things in here in a few minutes if anybody wants to throw any of those thoughts in. I know some of the success with my family is just anytime that we can have a dinner together. I know over the last year, we've probably had dinner together more than we've ever had together with their activities and sports. So it doesn't have to be, something super fancy, but what brings those families together? And then how do we take that picture and bring it into school and to their school families? I'll give you a few minutes, Cindy, to let people take a look at that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yard work brings your family together. So I had 55 yards of mulch delivered 2 weeks ago. That did not bring my family together. I wish I had your family. I had to call for help. We were trying to put it in a forest to clear some poison ivy and harp down on that. But I love that you shared that, and I appreciate you sharing. Again, my kids could have learned some stuff, but they do like to do some plants. Attending church. Community is a lot of is family. And I think for, in church and in our classrooms and in our offices, in our neighborhoods, those are important engagement that we sure all missed out on for a year. Super important pieces of working together. So one of the big things that I want to offer, and I kind of start in the PowerPoint presentation, is the doors are open and the walls are down right now. We have had parents involved in our students in education and in the classroom, probably beyond what we've ever had, right? They were helping to be the teachers. They were the Zoom leaders. They were our IT people behind the scene. They were, the motivators when they needed that support. And so I just really hope that we can continue with the pandemic and with the struggles. We learned so much, and we had such an opportunity to bring our families back in and bring them part of that community, back to our school community. Our younger kids, I know when my kids were younger, I was able to be in the buildings and do flashcards and things. But as our kids age up, we want them to have the responsibility, and we want them to own that responsibility, which they did very well. But our families were more involved than ever. So how do we harness that energy and keep them involved, keep them connected, but still let our students do the majority of the work? And one of the tools we use at Westfield Washington Schools, and I'm excited to share with you guys today, is Parent University. And Parent University is a link between home and school, aiming to engage, educate, and equip families as they successfully navigate their experience at Westfield Washington Schools. That's the tool that we are using, and it supported the mission of our district, providing rigorous and engaging experiences to prepare all students socially, emotionally, and academically. And we understood that with the trends and the way things were going, we needed tools to make that happen. So in January of 2018, our superintendent at the time was targeted with the strategic plan to the district, and they brought to me the piece of, can you create a tool that will support family and community engagement as a district? So we have 6 elementary schools here. We have 1 intermediate, 1 middle, and 1 high school. And how do you bring that family engagement community? How do you connect that circle? How do you make that happen? And so we really went to work and designed, what could Parent University be? And I looked at Parent Universities. I will share with you that if Parent University is new to you, that term, they are found throughout the United States. They're just different. And when I looked at Parent University of what it could be for Westfield Washington Schools, we made it what it would be, what we for feedback came back for our community at the time. We are a very small community, but growing extremely rapid. If you're familiar with Westfield, Indiana, we're growing. I came to Westfield Schools or moved to Westfield, I think it was around 2003, and we might have had 3,000 kiddos in the schools, and we have close to 9,000 now. So that's some pretty excessive growth. So how do we make sure that we keep that small town family community? So the next part was we designed and created what Parent University meant to us as a district. We created a label, we created a brand, and we created some different platforms that our parents we know our parents are using Facebook. We know our students and high schoolers are using Instagram. We know our educators are using Twitter. And then we had a website. So that's kind of some fun. Any questions out there, Cindy, on any of that so far? We're good? Okay.
Yeah, nope, we're good. Sorry, I don't see any questions.
So we just kept going through and keep developing the plan. So in 2018, we said, we went to our educators. I went to all the buildings. What are your concerns and what are your interests and where are our successes? Let's find where the success is. When do parents come? When do they want to come? And how do parents want to be supported? And we kind of looked at the overall picture, and the light bulb's really fun in the sense of it just shows how all of this engagement weaves together to support students and families. And that's the churches, and that's the outdoor, the health and wellness, and the communication and the technology. And boy, did we ever need all of these pieces in the last year. Our instructional coaches and our staff and everybody just really had to really shine supporting families. So Parent University kind of just helps parents to understand the connection to and some of the things. We created the platform, and on the platform, if you go to the website, we picked out some of the top categories that we could help streamline. So during the school year, I'll post probably about 6 times a day on Facebook or Twitter. And then we post just a couple articles a week on the actual website, but they all link and they get deposited into categories. So if your family's needing something on communication or education, we want it to be really easy for you to find. We've added more categories since then, health and wellness, self-care. So there's many other categories in there. This year, we're going to build some curriculum in there. So you'll be able to go in and look at the curriculum and understand why you're taking that test or when you're taking those tests. But it's been a building process, right? We have to build habits to come to the site. And so we're doing really well. We get lots of feedback. Parent University also gives us an area to have some honest conversations. So if you go to Facebook or you go to our website, you can find things on our curriculum, but we also can talk about drugs and alcohol and vaping and suicide rates and mental health. And then we can talk about self-care and positive things and different ways to support your families. So this platform gives us the freedom or the ability to truly engage in with our community in an honest way, not just in what you want to read in print, but what we need to read in print. I know as a parent of 4, I'm not aware of all of the things that my kids are going to process. They're so much different from when I was there. There was no phone when we were in school, right? That changes everything. The social media changes everything, their access. The things my 11-year-old can tell me about certain things from both sports statistics and different things, we have to sit down and have conversations of, tell me about that. Tell me how you feel about that, having those conversations. So we give parents opportunities and questions and things to come to the top of their radar so they can sit and have those questions. And they're not always learning them from their bus partners and different things like that. It's really, really important that we have that circular, open conversation. And hopefully a parent will feel more equipped to have the conversation if they're not afraid of that terminology, or they've never heard of that word, or they've never heard of a vape or something like that. So we want to give parents, and we're pretty straightforward. So I encourage you to like on Facebook. That's a great way to stay connected with Parent University and kind of learn us alongside of us, because none of this is secular just to Westfield. We are all a big family of educators and communicators, and we're all connecting, and it goes in there. So some of the things that we did over the course of the first 2 years were back to school workshops. We did book clubs. We did movie screenings, social media, video links. We did the wide. We were very flexible, and we knew that not everybody wanted to come to a video. We brought in the movie Screenagers. We brought in the movie Angst. So we brought in a lot of really good movies that were both appropriate for adult and children to watch together. And we get a couple hundred people to watch that. But we also knew we needed to do things online. And then when we were holding small group sessions where we were teaching maybe a single subject, we found that parents weren't attending because they had to figure out, how do I go to this, or do I take my kiddo to this practice and borrow 4 rides, right? And that's the real parenting. That's the parenting of that after school engagement period. We're asking into that time. So we found that when we created multi opportunity events, parents felt more apt to go to those particular events because there was so much involved. And so that it was worth that exchange. So that this community engagement on there. One of the things that we did, and that kind of leads into our back to school workshops. So we're in our planning process right now for this year. And I'm so excited to be able to do it live once again. Last year we had to trying to go back and do a online version. And I put some links in here so you can see the district resources, the engagement opportunities, and some ways that we did it last year through COVID. We videoed. I didn't just want to put another link up for one of our resources here. So I met with all 40 community resources, and they looked in the camera and they said, "Hi, I'm Ashley Knott, and I'm here to help you. And I can't wait to meet you." And we just wanted to go above and beyond sending a link. So we met from everybody from food resources to transportation to medical. And we just hoped that that gave that person who was viewing that video that little extra encouragement to just really take that next step. So that was super exciting. But we loved having the in-house event, and that's what we're targeting this year, where we host 20 to 25 different classes, and we'll decide on what they are. And parents have an opportunity to attend either in the morning or the night, and they change classes every 25 minutes. And one of them might be, come meet the superintendent. One of them might be, my child has anxiety, how do I support them? One of them might be, my child's the first child to go to college, what do I do? So it just kind of walked through some different, and they were led by our administration, by our instructors, by our counselors. So I'm not the one teaching them. We bring somebody in who, that's their expertise. That's their their way that they help to communicate. So those classes were very well attended. And one of the leading comments that we had after those classes was, I actually felt connected and vested to the building. And that's the goal. How do we vest you to the schools? If you have a high schooler or a middle schooler, it's a little bit harder. You're having a hard time even getting them to speak beyond how was your day. It's always just good, right? Or, they go do their thing. And so how do we make sure that we're having that full, because there's so much opportunity out there for our students. There's so much, and with a little bit of support, it just kind of opens those other doors for them. We also held a thing called Student Cafe, where we invited 49 parents into our intermediate building to have lunch with our students. So when our students came in for each lunch period, there was a parent sitting at every single table. And the reason why was, many families, you get to have an opportunity to have a meal with your child, or that child speaks to an adult. But there are many children who don't have an opportunity to have an adult say something kind to them in a course of a day, beyond a teacher who's giving them instruction. So we just wanted to put parents with students and really just give a chance to say, hey, how are you? Is there anything, going on, or what's your favorite sport? And just really for someone to take 20 minutes, invest into this table, just was a really cool experience. We gave each of our parents a little card. We gave them questions to kind of stay on track, not to ask certain questions. We did go through a little social emotional training prior to bringing our parents into the classroom with, different things like that. So just a really overall great experience. And if you watch this video of this parent, she just really appreciated the opportunity to have that minute in the building. Our 5th and 6th graders, we want them to be, take that next step in their journey. And so we don't want parents in the classroom like we did in the elementary buildings, but this gave a chance to not be in the building in the classroom, but to still be in the space. And overall, it was just a really great opportunity. We even brought our high schoolers over one lunch period to sit one at each table with our 5th and 6th graders. And they really enjoyed that. The chatter was pretty high, and the kids felt pretty cool that this person came and took time to sit and have lunch with them and just see how you're doing. So what a great opportunity. And I think finding those are engagements that don't cost money. Those are engagements that just cost an action. It's just a matter of doing it. And the planning really wasn't that difficult. Parents, when we put it out there to say, who wants to come have lunch? Parents really jumped at the bit, right? Because you don't typically go in. And my 5th and 6th grader would say, no, you can't come. But now here's a program, you can come in. So that was a great opportunity. And it was really kind of leads into the next thing, parent engagement and parent involvement. Engaging happens quite often as we're engaging with our kids and pulling them through, and involvement happens differently when we're at events. And how do you milk those together? How do we make sure that we're learning together and that we're constantly engaging and involving families, and then reaching outside of that normal range of families that you might see on a regular basis? How do we say, we're missing quite a few families. How can we encourage some of our English language learning families to come? How can we make sure that we're culturally driven and that this is something that everyone would like to attend? And sometimes I actually even say, numbers to me don't always equal success. Sometimes if there's 2 or 3 families, if it's a language barrier or a financial barrier that we just need to spend that extra engagement time with, I find it a success if we help one student. So helping any student to me is a positive. And don't let the digital tools, the language and finances be the cost, because some things don't have to cost that much. And we know that when we support and engage with students and invest and get parents connected, that our suicide rates are going to go down. They're up right now. And they're up in a lot of different categories. There's been a lot of, this is a hard transition back, but I have confidence in our educators and I have confidence in our families that if we keep talking and keep communicating and keep looking at some of the things that we've learned over the course of the year, that we will continue to drive those numbers back down as much as we know. And when we do that, they're less likely to be in those situations and to continue on that pathway. So it's all about supporting students, all about supporting family, and really doing the best that we can. And this year, so we wanted to make sure that we were teaching families, and it was a great year to go online, right, and offer a series. And as so much was happening in the world around us, we wanted to help parents understand the terminology that was being used, the terminology that they're hearing or reading in the papers, or that our kids are learning about. And so we took a minute and created a parent series. And we had a group of parents, I think there were 13 or 14 parents along this journey that helped create this. And you can click on any of these. What is culture? How to talk to your child about race, culture intelligence, unconscious bias. We really, the reason for those, the way that we did this was to really take apart each of those subjects and teach you what is culture. Culture is really cool. Culture has so many layers. It's an onion, and it just evolves, and it just brings out so much opportunity. And these kids can really shine if we can see that difference in that culture. So I invite you to take a look at those. They're one page. You can share them with anybody in your community. I welcome you to do that. It's a great series, and our goal was just to make a stronger community. And everybody. Once you understand the verbiage, sometimes we're more apt to understand what we're talking about. But I think that that's what we wanted to make sure. So this was created by parents for parents, and I think that's pretty cool. And they drove through. So that went for 8 weeks. We also work a lot with Lori Desital, who's absolutely amazing, Dr. Lori Desital, and she's presenting in today's conference as well. So make sure that you look her up. She is brilliant when it comes to neuroscience and connecting the brain and the body and health and self-care. And when the pandemic happened, we reached out to Lori and said, we thought it was going to happen for 3 weeks, right? We didn't think this was going to go on for long periods of time. And so she kindly started offering some self-care tips, which are highlighted in blue, taking care of our brains and emotions. And then it kept going and going, right? So she did 9 weeks for us of parent support. And you're welcome to share those too with any of your family and friends and colleagues and schools. And those are just really short 10 to 15 minute empowerments for self-care, for you taking care of yourself and others. So I just really invite you that. And then we just appreciate her so much and her knowledge that we brought her back in for a mind body fitness session. So the next parent series that we did was a mind body fitness session talking about the brain and the body and how our health, after so much different confusion, how important it is to take a minute to breathe. And she gave breathing exercises. And Chris Ballard joined in champion how important it was to, you're at the gym and you're working out, but if you're not taking care of your mind, you're gonna have a barrier in the middle. So we really appreciated his voice, and feel free to watch that on your own time. I would have played that for you. It's a minute and a half, and he just really, he kind of, pushes you on like he does his team to be your best you. There's some things that you have to do, and the weight room is one of them, but also taking a second for yourself. Does anybody have any questions or anything, Cindy?
I don't see any right now. I'm going to put the link again in the chat box. We had a couple of people join us after I initially announced it, so I'm going to put it again in the chat box. This is the link to the Google Slides that Ashley's working through.
Thank you. So I apologize if the slides aren't working. We're in a school building and we had some technical errors. So thank you for sharing that, Cindy. I appreciate it. Throughout this whole presentation, you'll find there's a lot of underscore links that I built into it so that you can, and feel free to use any of these tools or engaging opportunities to share with your community, with your school, with your business, with your family. We've got a lot of different, friends here joining us, and just giving you the opportunity for that self-care, for that family engagement. So feel free to go back through that presentation if you save it. So the next slide I'm on, we were talking about increasing engagement for our school. So in Westfield schools, we use class was something that was new to us, connecting, learning, assuring successful students. And that was originally piloted and used very much in one of our elementary schools. And over the last 2 years, we really brought it in across the district, mentoring, leadership, and having those moments. Instead of starting, if you're not familiar with class, you start your morning with a morning circle or a morning conversation, and you talk about the positives and the negatives. And once you have those conversations, then you're more relaxed and ready to go in. And we also then know where our checkpoints are and who might need a little extra help. I know we do it here at Central Office. We have a meeting once a week, and we start it with a circle, and everybody kind of goes around and they ask some questions, and they're really just trying to gauge how everyone's feeling and where we're at in the direction. When we travel together as a team, we're going to travel more successfully. When we travel individually, it makes it a little more difficult. So class just connects everyone, engages them, and leads. And then we really look for some leaders. So we've got some really cool leadership positions happening throughout the district in many buildings. In the high school, we have a mentor program. I know in some of the elementary schools, they have a full leadership program where the students go back in and teach after they're trained, which is very similar to the high school. So great opportunities. In our buildings, it's also really important not to forget about our parents and how they can engage, leaning back onto the clubs, the programs, the extracurricular activities, and even, yes, the PTOs. Some people are afraid of that word, but those are great ways to involve, communicate, and connect and support our schools through things that we need and through things that and the family needs. So when your parent is vested, it's just a positive. And online has become such an important link that we do a lot of different things through websites and different things. So when I was going to do a poll right here, we asked, state a physical need that you learned about in 2020-21. Well, there's a lot, right? Like that was a heavy year for needs. And so I'd be interested if you guys want to throw any of those in the chat. Throw any of those in the chat. Some different physical needs that you've been teaching for many years. Maybe you're a new teacher, maybe you're an administrator, maybe you're in the work field, maybe it's not in a classroom, but what are some different needs that just popped up or kept popping up? And how did you meet those needs is what we're visiting on. And give you guys a few minutes if you guys want to add those in. That would be the question.
Physical needs of students, Ashley, or of ourselves?
Really need, like, the year became, so I'll share with you where we're leading is the state of physical need. So when we, prior to the pandemic, it's going to lead into what it's coming up to is Purposity. This was an app that we discovered that we had different things that our students needed. At the time, it might have been a notebook or pens or a coat, right? Mm-hmm. So those are needs that we had on there. And so what kind of needs all of a sudden started popping up? Well, we had already made that connection with Purposity. So Purposity is a tech app, and I encourage all of you to look into this. It's Purposity, when you put in, it's going to come up like it's spelled wrong, but it's purpose plus generosity equals Purposity. And you go into the App Store, you can download it. You have to set this up with the company, your school or your organization. And once you do, and you get approved and you go through their process, it is a tool that brings amazing things and opportunities for you to fill needs that you might otherwise not been able to do. We were able to fill over 1,000 needs during the course of COVID with a simple touch of a button. So just as easy, if you go to Starbucks and you order a cup of coffee, you can put in that you want a cup of coffee. You pay for it on your phone and you go pick it up, and Cindy's order is there and she's ready for her coffee. The same thing happens with Purposity. I receive a need from a counselor that this student doesn't have a pair of tennis shoes, and I send it through the Purposity system. It appears in the app, and you can go in and read that this young man, and I won't ever you never know their name, and you never know, where they are, that they do not have a pair of shoes. They need a size 12 pair of shoes. The mom's out of work and dad was sick with COVID. The cost is $22.43. That's all you need to know. And you could say, I can meet that need. And with a touch of a button, you pay for it and it gets sent to me at central office. And I deliver the shoes to the counselor, and those shoes just magically show up for the student. And nowhere in the process do you know who the donor was, and the student doesn't, no one knows who the student was. So it's all kept very, very confidential. And we met over 1,000 of those needs over the course of this past year. Everything from toilet paper was very high on the list. And, if you don't have transportation, when those needs are bare on the shelves, you can't you can't keep going back and looking for those needs. We joke about it, right? But for those families who didn't have transportation and maybe got transportation once a week to a store or every 2 weeks, there were some big needs out there. So hygiene products. Once we got back into the buildings and even towards the end, calculators were one of the highest things that we needed for math class because we couldn't share calculators anymore. And so where we might have had hundreds of kids in the class, and normally we could pass the calculators through, everybody needed their own calculator. And that was a cost that many families couldn't add on. So Purposity is something I would encourage you to, in supporting your needs. It also helps you to learn about different families that might need more than what you can offer through Purposity. And then that's when we connect them to our community resources, our open doors, our churches, and they can do the full wraparound. But once a student keeps popping up multiple times, whether it be a coat and shoes or a backpack, and there is no shame, that the older kids really liked it because they could go into Amazon and pick out their shoes. So it's anything that you can purchase on Amazon, but not a gift card, is the way that fills. So a great opportunity. And if anybody would like more information on that, or would like me to help walk you through on how we did it using a Google form to keep it all nice and organized, I'm very open to that and happy. And you can watch the video up on the top. It is open to all 501c3 organizations. You just have to apply. But that's the owner did a little interview on the third hour of the Today Show and kind of opened it up. And the next bucket is just an example of some of the things that this actual tub went to a family of 9. The father passed away from COVID, and of all ages. And this was in the beginning stages. And we were just trying to figure out something to deliver to the kids of multiple ranges from kindergarten to college, of what can we help with the mom at that moment. And so we made some yard activities and some basic hygiene items, and we delivered it. Not everything was delivered so pretty and things, but it really just, if you get it to the families was our key. But this particular family, we needed some extra love on, and we just wanted to make sure they got it. So we know that when families are involved, our students are going to earn higher grades. They're going to attend school more regularly. They're going to be confident, and their path, it just supports their career path. And so any of these opportunities, I hope I shared some things within here that we're doing. Parent University for us has been and will continue to evolve to be a tool that allows us to connect with families today and going forward. We are constantly evolving. We are constantly trying to improve. We're constantly questioning and checking the things that we're doing and learning from others, such as probably many of yourselves on your platforms. And when we have the opportunity to share things that are successful for us, we're thrilled to be able to share them. If it supports a student, if it supports a family, then Parent University is doing its job. Is there any other questions or anything that I can help on? Does anybody have any questions out there?
Yeah, please feel free to either unmute yourself to ask Ashley a question, or you can type it in the chat box or the app. Could you give an example of the needs that were met by Purposity?
So anything from, I did a lot of coats, I did a lot of pants, I did a lot of shoes, underwear, socks, tampons, bath soap, dish soap, toilet paper, calculators, notebooks, pens, markers. But towards, I would say then, as we worked through COVID and those physical needs, a lot of physical needs, we started playing into more of, we would get a book in Spanish. Some of these access things that our kiddos have that they don't have. So we worked with a lot of our youth assistance organizations. I have a lot of liaisons that send me then the needs. So if they needed a book, I bought a fishing pole for one student who was having some mental health issues, and they thought if we could get them out fishing, even though they can't activate right now, would that be it? I bought a bed for 2 families who were homeless, and they were able to get into an apartment but did not have a bed for the 2 kids. We bought mattresses, a lot of blankets, a lot of crafting supplies, beads, markers, crayons, different things like that, more than just your regular pack of markers, just really an art kit to support a family. So my goal, the average cost on Proposity is $30 is what they try to say. So it would be anything that could be $2 or $3. If you do some of the higher end things, you do have to connect with them and get connected. They take a little longer to fill too, but people have a tendency when they see something that pops up and it's $3 or $4 or $10, it's just a much quicker fill. Prior to COVID, I was filling needs within 24 hours. They would be ordered, and then I would probably have it to that family within 3 days.
Absolutely phenomenal. Wow. Other questions people have for Ashley? Okay, well, it's getting close to lunchtime. So I'm going to put in the chat box a link to the evaluation. If you would like to jot down your thoughts about this session, we would greatly appreciate your feedback on it. I want to thank Ashley for her time, and I want to thank you all for your patience with our tech issues. And unless we have anything else to say, I think we will say farewell.
Yes, thank you guys so much. I apologize that we had tech issues, and I hope that you have a chance to connect to the PowerPoint session, and there's lots of links. So let me know if there's anything I can do to support you.
That's great. It was all good, Ashley. All good. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.